Okay, I'm going to get started by just welcoming everyone. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see all of you guys here. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. Today is our group learning program where each Sunday and Wednesday I come together with students, helping them to understand the path to enlightenment. We start each one of our classes with meditation, but then afterwards, I typically give a talk on a chapter in this book. This is the foundational text that we use for this program, where each Sunday I go chapter by chapter in our book. And today we're in chapter 4, which is titled The Four Noble Truths, Establishing Right View. This is the very first teaching of the Buddha, where you can learn what is causing your discontent feelings. Why are you experiencing anger, sadness, frustration, and all these other feelings? Because the teachings of the Buddha are to guide you to the point where you're no longer experiencing those feelings, where your mind is actually enlightened, where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. But how would you ever eliminate these discontent feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others if you didn't understand what was causing them? So in 4 simple statements, I'm going to be able to help you understand what is the problem that the Buddha discovered in the mind, the cause of that problem, the elimination of it, and the path forward of how to actually fix it. But like I mentioned, we're going to start with meditation, and then afterwards I'll move into this talk to be able to help you guys understand the path to enlightenment as taught by the Buddha. So if you'd like to do meditation with us, the way that I start this is with some chanting to ease into meditation. We have the chants over there on the cabinet. You're welcome to help yourself to a chanting sheet, and you're welcome to chant along because it actually helps you get more benefit out of the meditation as you ease into the meditation, and you can be chanting if you like. During the lifetime of the Buddha, he used chanting as a way to help his students commit the teachings to memory, where every 2 weeks his students would come together and they would recite his teachings orally. This is like a learning tool, as a learning device. So you can see from the origins of chanting that this isn't anything mystical or magical. It's not a rite, ritual, ceremony, worship, or prayer, or anything like that. Today, we just use it to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. If you read the English translations, you're going to see that there's a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of that, I don't think the Buddha even created these chants himself. They were probably created by his students, either during his life or after his death. Because the Buddha wouldn't have walked around and said, "Here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me." This would be ego or arrogance if someone chose to do this. And by the time you get to enlightenment, you don't have that in your mind any longer. So if you like to chant along, you're more than welcome to, and you'll be able to see that there's more benefit in the meditation as you ease into the meditation. And then once we're in the meditation, you're going to hear me providing you some guidance, where I'm going to be teaching you and instructing you how to meditate while we're actually meditating together. Then there's going to be a period of time of quietness where we'll all be meditating. Everyone here at the temple and anybody joining online will just all be meditating at the same time. Now, during this period of time of quietness, I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds. You might hear a car go by, a dog barking, a bird chirping. Someone here might cough or sneeze. This is all normal. If you're in meditation with a craving for permanent silence and you hear a sound, you will cause your mind to be annoyed or frustrated. This is what's causing the mind to experience these discontent feelings, is that it's craving permanence while you're living in an impermanent world. So you need to be able to understand that the world's constantly changing around you, that there's going to be sounds during meditation. Those sounds are going to arise, they're going to change, and then they're going to fade away. And you can be at ease in your meditation when you hear those sounds, understanding that the world's working exactly the way it's intended to work. Then we're going to come out of the meditation with some more chanting, and that's where I'll start today's class, helping you guys to understand the Four Noble Truths. In terms of your body position for meditation, there's 4 positions that the Buddha taught: seated, lying, standing, and walking. And you would learn these different positions at different times as part of your journey to enlightenment. The various courses and retreats, you can learn these. It's kind of like assembling a tool belt and then using these different tools at different times in your journey to enlightenment. But oftentimes students are learning in the seated position, so I'll share some details on that with you to be able to help you find something that's maybe even more comfortable than the way you're already sitting. So you can use the things that I'm sharing if you like, but if you come up with something on your own, you're welcome to use that as well, because there's not just one fixed way to sit, because that would be permanence when we live in an impermanent world. So different people are going to find things to be comfortable. And that's what's important, is that the body's comfortable, not painful and not luxurious, but comfortable, where it's in the middle. So you can use something that I'm suggesting and sharing, or you can come up with something on your own as well. So if you're on the floor, in a chair, a bench, a sofa, a wheelchair, you can sit in any of these different ways. If you're on the floor, you might have some cushions under your ear. This will kind of help soften your seat a bit. And if you're going to bring your legs together in the cross-leg position, you might just choose to do that lightly. Whereas if they're real tight, it can impede the circulation in the lower body and cause pain in the lower body. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets the hips up in the air, and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, allowing the circulation to flow. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use it, but it's not about everyone doing it exactly the same way. There's other options here. You could put your palms on your thighs or your knees. You can put your palms up. Some people like to rest their hands comfortably in their lap, so you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. And then the same thing is true for anybody sitting in a chair or on a bench, a sofa, or a wheelchair. You can also sit however you like. Some people like to put their feet flat on the floor or lightly crossed at the ankles, but you can see me sitting in a chair here with my legs crossed, so that's an option for you as well. And then you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. It's helpful if the upper body is erect, with the sternum up and the shoulders back. It'll help keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. What meditation is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the mind. So you like the mind to be attentive and alert during the meditation. Whereas if you were slouched, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you are real rigid with the upper body, the mind could be overactive or uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be in the middle with the sternum up and shoulders back, because it'll help keep the mind attentive and alert so that you can train it. But then also it'll help you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So again, I'm going to do some chanting to ease into meditation. You guys are welcome to join in, and then I'll come back in with the guidance. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakewa Bhutang Mahakewanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakawata Tammo Namang Namasami Supatipano Mahakawato Savakasangko Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso emakawa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakatoro Kawitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusarang Poto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมหะเกวาพุทธังมหาเกวันหังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหาเกวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหะเขวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมอะระหะสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมอะระหะสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมอะระหะสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหะเกวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิจาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังโพโตภาควาติ All right, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation, once again, welcome to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone here this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. The individual that we refer to as the Buddha figured out how to get to enlightenment over 2,500 years ago. What enlightenment is where the mind is completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. The mind no longer experiences any discontent feelings. By the time you get to enlightenment, you will have eliminated all your anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this can be eliminated from the mind through training of the mind. Oftentimes people think that these feelings are being caused by something external, like maybe you think your mom and dad are frustrating you, or your boss is annoying you, or maybe your life partner, your children are irritating you. This isn't actually true. You're going to be able to learn today what's actually causing these feelings so that you can actually eliminate them. The Buddha's teachings start with the teaching that I'm going to share with you today to help you be able to understand what's causing these feelings, because his path is to help you to be able to train your mind to eliminate these. Meditation is important and is something that you're going to need in order to develop your practice to be able to attain enlightenment, but you wouldn't be able to meditate your way to enlightenment. One of the biggest myths about the life story of the Buddha is that he sat under a tree, he meditated, and then instantly got to enlightenment. And this isn't actually true. It comes through gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. And as you're doing this, you'll notice that you're uplifting what the Buddha discovered as pollutions in the mind. You're eliminating this out of the mind. And as you do, you'll notice that there's focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory in the mind. An enlightened being will experience those improved qualities of mind because their mind's performing optimally. In the unenlightened state, you'll find it very challenging to have those qualities because the mind is hindered by those pollutions. By the time you get to enlightenment, all your personal and professional relationships are really blossoming because you don't have bitterness and harshness and hostility in your mind anymore. As long as you're putting that out in your relationships, it's all going to just come back to you. So you can improve improve that, where you get to the point where you can be loving and kind and warm and gentle, where you can be polite, kind, friendly, and respectful in all situations, where right now that would be probably pretty difficult for you based on what's going on with the mind. But you can train the mind to overcome that. You can get to the point where you don't even have a bad mood any longer, that it'll be physically impossible for you to experience a bad mood. And it all starts with the teaching that I'm going to share with you today, which is called the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths is the very first teaching of the Buddha. It's kind of like the trail marker. If you were going on a hike and there's like a trail marker in front of the trail to kind of explain to you what you're going to see on this hiking trail, well, the Four Noble Truths is that. In four simple statements, you're going to be able to understand the problem that the Buddha discovered in the mind, the cause of that problem, the elimination of it, and the path forward of how to actually fix it. You can essentially have a breakthrough to being able to understand once and for all why you keep experiencing things like anger, sadness, frustration, stress, anxiety, guilt, shame, fear, and all these other feelings. And by understanding what's causing them and being able to independently verify it, you can then actually solve it. The teachings of the Buddha aren't based in belief. You shouldn't believe anything that I share with you today or any other day. The Buddha's teachings aren't about believing a bunch of things and then hoping something good happens when you die. It's about learning, growing, and developing in this life so that you can actually get to a peaceful and joyful life now in this life. There aren't any rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, and prayer in the teachings of the Buddha. If you're seeing those kinds of things associated with his teachings, those are gross misunderstandings that people are having about his teachings. He never taught any of those kinds of things. He taught you to do this inner work, this inner growth, this inner development. Essentially, what you can do with the teachings of the Buddha is to heal from what hurts you so that you never need to hurt ever again. But what's hurting you is not the outside world. It's what's going on within one's own mind. And when you come to understand this through a way that you can learn, investigate, and examine his teachings, you can reflect on them to verify if they're true or false, and then you can practice his teachings, integrating them into your day-to-day life to train your mind. You can experience the peace and the joy that the Buddha discovered, and you can heal from what hurts you so that you never need to hurt ever again. So as I share with you today, I'm going to gradually walk you through in a way that you can learn, you can reflect, and then you can practice so that you can independently verify what the Buddha taught is 100% true and accurate. And as I go in today's talk, I'm going to be pausing a few times, opening up for questions, giving you an opportunity to ask me questions to get clarification, because you're going to need that. You're not going to be able to just learn something and instantly understand it right from the beginning. So as I pause and ask for questions to see if you guys would like to ask any questions here at the temple, if you guys would like to ask questions, we have microphones in the white bowl there in the middle of the room. We have some up here as well. All you need to do is get a microphone, take it back to your seat, press the gray button. You're going to see the lights come on, and you can hold it up to your chin, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online too. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. And then you can keep these microphones with you because you might have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question, and you can actually just share the microphone with them. And if you're not using it, if you could turn it off, that way we won't get feedback through the speakers. And for anybody who's online, whether you're in Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, you can ask questions as well. You can put that into the comment section, or you can in Zoom electronically raise your hand, unmute your microphone, and ask any and all questions that you like. So the way that the Buddha teaches you to be able to learn his teachings is he suggests to you to learn with eager ears. That if you just come to the temple like this and you just sit back and you're thinking that the teachings are just going to kind of roll over you and you're just going to naturally absorb the teachings, this isn't actually true. This isn't the way that you would actively learn the teachings of the Buddha. He teaches you to learn with eager ears, that you're actively listening to the teachings. And then as you need help, you can ask questions. So like I mentioned, I'm going to be pausing a few times to help you. I'm going to first start with the three universal truths to help you understand what these are, because these are building blocks to help you understand the Four Noble Truths. This is kind of like preliminary information that you need to be able to learn, reflect on to independently verify, and then be able to see the truth once we get to the Four Noble Truths. The core central teaching of the Buddha is called the Eightfold Path. That's the path to enlightenment. If you're interested in getting to this enlightened mental state that the Buddha experienced, you would need to learn this path inside and out, backwards and forwards, left, right, up, down. You're going to need to commit it to your memory and practice it on a regular basis. That eightfold path starts with the Four Noble Truths. It's the very first teaching of the Buddha. So I'm going to help you guys to understand this. We call it the Three Universal Truths and the Four Noble Truths because the Buddha knew that they were true. I know that they're true, and other people know that they're true too. But you're going to need to know they're true. And that's why you're interested in listening with eager ears to be able to actively and be involved with your own learning and your growth and your development. That's what the path to enlightenment is doing this inner work to grow and develop and cultivate wisdom. So I'm going to help you to cultivate that wisdom through helping you to understand the way the world is. That's what the Buddha taught. He didn't teach the way the world should be. And if you follow a bunch of rules and commandments, that the world will become a better place. He's teaching you the way the world is. Because in the unenlightened state, the mind doesn't understand the way the world is. That's why it has stress and anxiety. That's why it has guilt and shame and fear. It's struggling to live in a world that it doesn't understand. Just like when we grew up as children and we didn't understand the natural law of gravity and we fell down, we hurt ourselves, we bumped our elbows, we broke our toys, and we struggled. It's because we didn't understand the world that we lived in. And we had this natural law of gravity that was affecting us, whether we were aware of it or not. But slowly but surely, we cultivated wisdom about that natural law. And as we did, we started making wiser and wiser decisions. And that's why now we can ride bicycles, we can get on airplanes and fly all over the place, we can get on ladders, and we're completely comfortable because we understand this natural law of gravity. Where when we had a lack of wisdom of that natural law, we weren't able to do those things easily. So what you're doing on the path to enlightenment is cultivating wisdom about the world around you. So this very first universal truth, the universal truth of impermanence, the Buddha is helping you to be able to see that the world around you is constantly changing, that it is impermanent. And this is going to be a building block to help you understand the Four Noble Truths by the time we get there. So the universal truth of impermanence is helping you to be able to see that there's something called conditioned objects that arise, they change, and they fade away. They are impermanent, meaning not permanent. Anything that you can see, hear, smell, taste, anything that comes in contact with the body or any thoughts or ideas that go through the mind, they are all impermanent. They're constantly changing. It's called conditioned objects. Then there's something called unconditioned objects. Unconditioned objects do not arise, they do not change, and they do not fade away. So enlightenment, by the time you get to enlightenment, it is a permanent mental state. Once you get to enlightenment, your mind will never again experience any discontent feelings. It's a permanent state of mind that the mind will always be residing in. In the natural laws that the Buddha taught 2,500 years ago, those are also unconditioned objects. They don't arise, they don't change, and they don't fade away. But everything else in the world around you is constantly changing. Okay, so this is the intellectual learning of the universal truth of impermanence, where you started to learn and investigate and examine what it is that I'm sharing with you. But now you don't believe that teaching. You don't believe anything that I share with you. Don't believe anything I write in books. Don't believe anything that anybody else tells you, because you need to cultivate wisdom. That's how you're going to awaken to enlightenment. That's what it means to awaken, is to cultivate wisdom. So now you can move from this learning, this intellectual part that I just shared with you, into reflection, where you're now reflecting based on your own direct experience. Is what I just said true? And the way that you do that is you look around the world to try to independently verify what I'm sharing. Because if this is a universal truth, that means you can independently verify it on your own. So I suggest you look around the world and try to see if you can find something that is permanent. Anything that you can see, hear, smell, taste, anything that comes in contact with the body, or any thoughts or ideas that go through the mind. So I suggest you start with something like the physical body. You can ask yourself, is this body permanent, meaning it's always been exactly the same, or is this body impermanent, meaning it's constantly changing? What would you say? Is this body permanent or impermanent? It's impermanent, right? It's constantly changing. Ever since the egg and sperm came together, this body's changing. We get taller, we get shorter, we get bigger, we get smaller, right? Our hair grows in, and then we cut it and it is shorter. We get wrinkles and pimples and moles, right? Our teeth grow in as a child. That's change. And then they fall out. That's change, right? And then they grow in again. And then we get cavities. There's this constant change with the physical body. What about your relationships? If your relationships are permanent, that means you've had exactly the same people in your life your entire life. If your relationships are impermanent, that means you've had people coming and going in and out of your life throughout your life. So what would you say? Are your relationships permanent or impermanent? They're impermanent, right? People are constantly coming and going. What about your bank account? Is your bank account permanent or impermanent? It's impermanent, right? It's going up and down and up and down. Some people's goes up, up, up. Some people's goes down, down, down. Your bank account's constantly changing. What about the weather? Is the weather permanent or impermanent? It's impermanent, right? It's raining. It's sunny. Some places it snows or sleets, or there's a tornado or a hurricane or typhoon. There's all these different events, right? So we could go on and on and on and on. And if you need to do that, you should, because you need to go around the world and be able to independently verify what I'm sharing with you is true. So when you're walking down the sidewalk and you see a crack in the sidewalk, that is impermanence. When you look at the tree and you see green leaves in the tree and brown leaves on the ground, that is impermanence. When you look at the wood planks on the floor of the temple, some of them are longer, some of them are shorter, some of them are one color, some of them are another color, right? We started out with a certain number of students in the class, and now more people are coming, right? That's change. And then maybe by the time I'm finished, maybe some people choose to leave. Who knows, right? This is constant change, right? So you're going to experience constant change in the world around you. This is a universal truth that the world is constantly changing. And you need to be able to understand this in order to be able to understand the Four Noble Truths when we get to it. The second universal truth is called discontentedness. Here, the Buddha is explaining to you the unenlightened mind and what the unenlightened mind experiences. Now, some people, if you've learned this in other places, they might call this suffering. I don't refer to it as suffering, and I'll explain to you why, but let me first explain to you what the Buddha taught on this important topic. He's teaching you about the unenlightened mind and how it experiences what's called conditioned feelings. That based on some condition, the mind is going to experience pleasant feelings, painful feelings, and neither painful nor pleasant. The mind is shaken up. It's unsteady. It's uncalm. And it's based on a condition where, based on a condition, the mind's going to experience something like happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, euphoria. Maybe if it's sunny outside, you get so happy. Yay, it's sunny. Let's go outside and play. It's going to be so fun, right? So that's a conditioned feeling. Based on the condition that it's sunny, the mind is now going to experience a pleasant feeling. And then there's painful feelings like sadness, anger, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety. And this is based on a condition too, that there's some condition that is present that the mind is now experiencing that feeling. And then there's neither painful nor pleasant feelings. I put boredom and loneliness here, but some people say that's painful for them. So you could put that in the painful category if you like. But shyness is a good example. It's not painful. It's not pleasant. It's neither painful nor pleasant. Or say you are on public transportation and you're sitting on the bus and somebody you don't know comes in and sits really close to you and your body's touching their body. You might say, it's not painful, it's not pleasant, it's neither painful nor pleasant. The mind's dissatisfied or uncomfortable in this situation. So these are the three feelings that the Buddha is describing that the unenlightened mind is experiencing. So these are called conditioned feelings. So an unenlightened being, they'll wake up in the morning and they'll see it's sunny outside and they'll be like, oh, it's sunny. Oh, this is great. I've been wanting to go hiking with my friends. There's this trail that I've been wanting to go on. I'm going to call them and we're going to go have a blast. We're going to have a fun time. Oh, it's going to be so great. And now you go take a shower. And then when you come out of the shower, you see it's raining. And now you're frustrated and angry or annoyed. Right? This is what the unenlightened mind experiences, conditioned feelings, that based on the condition that it's sunny, you will be happy. But the problem with that is that the sun is not permanent. that when it changes to rain, now you're not happy anymore. So if you base your happiness on a condition, that means your happiness is not permanent, because that condition is not permanent. When it changes, then your mind's going to end up in the painful feelings. This is why you haven't been able to get to permanent happiness, because the mind is basing its inner feelings on some condition. An enlightened being doesn't experience this. An enlightened being wakes up in the morning, they're already happy. Before they even woke up, their mind's already joyful. They're experiencing what's called unconditioned happiness or unconditioned joy, where there doesn't need to be any condition met in order for them to experience that mental state of happiness or joy. They see it's sunny outside. It's like, sweet, I'm going to go hiking today. This is going to be excellent. I'm going to call my friends. We're going to have a good time. This is going to be great. Now you go take a shower, and then you come out and you see it's raining. It's like, oh, it's raining. Okay, well, I guess I'm not going hiking then. I guess I'll stay home and read a book, or maybe I'll go to the mall, or maybe I'll invite my friends over and we can cook some food and have a good time, right? You didn't base your happiness on the sun, so therefore you're not experiencing the sadness when it switches to rain or something else. This is called unconditioned happiness, where you're beyond the conditionality of the pleasant feelings, painful feelings, and neither painful nor pleasant. And you'll understand this more when we get to the Four Noble Truths. But what the Buddha is describing to you here is how the mind is shaken up. It's unsteady. It's uncalm. Have you ever been so happy or so excited you like tripped and fell or broke something? Have you guys ever experienced that? I had this experience when I was a little kid. When I was a little kid, I had this little parakeet. It was a bird. It was a green little parakeet. And I was only about 11 years old. And I was going on vacation. And we needed to take the bird to my grandparents' house so that they could actually watch the bird. And they would be able to take care of it while we were on vacation. So I'm carrying this bird cage out of our house. And our house had these steps that walked down. And I walked out on the steps and I was like, hey, everybody, look at my parakeet. This is Fred, the parakeet. I was so excited and boastful and arrogant and showing off Fred to everybody else. And I tripped and fell, and the cage fell down, and the top opened up, and Fred flew away. And boy, was I sad, right? So this is the mind being shaken up, that when you're experiencing those pleasant feelings, painful feelings are neither painful nor pleasant, the mind is unsteady, it's uncalm, and you can make unwise decisions. The universal truth here, I translate it as discontent, discontented, or discontentedness, because the Buddha is describing how the mind is shaken up here. And you need to be able to see that the pleasant feelings are just as much a part of the problem as the painful ones. Because if you allow the mind to experience conditioned pleasant feelings, then it's only a matter of time before the painful ones come. Because if you get so excited when you get a brand new job, that means 5 years later, when the company goes out of business or you get fired, that means you're going to be sad or angry or frustrated, right? Because you allowed your mind to get that conditioned pleasant feeling. So you need to get to the point where you're having unconditioned happiness, unconditioned joy, where you can be happy when you have the job, but you can also be happy when you don't have that job too. But the mind doesn't know how to do that in the unenlightened state, and that's what the Buddha is going to help you to learn how to do. So you can independently verify this, that this is a universal truth, because you understand that your mind is currently unenlightened, and you can ask yourself, is this what you experience? Are there any feelings that you experience that don't fit into one of these three categories? And if that's the case, when we get to the question period, just let me know and we'll talk about it. So you can independently verify that, yes, he's describing what the unenlightened mind experiences: pleasant feelings, painful feelings, and neither painful nor pleasant. Now, as I mentioned, a lot of people refer to this as suffering, but I don't refer to it that way because it doesn't fully represent what the Buddha was teaching here. The word suffering describes these painful feelings really well. When you're sad or angry or frustrated or having guilt or shame or fear or some other painful feeling, you'd probably say you were suffering in that situation. But that only describes 1/3 of his teachings. That means you're missing 66% of his teachings. And if you're missing 66% of a teacher's teachings, how could you ever get to the ultimate goal, which is enlightenment? So I use the word discontent discontented or discontentedness. Because if your boss came into your office and said, hey, you're doing a great job, I'm going to give you a $20,000 a year raise, and you got really excited, you probably wouldn't say you were suffering in that situation. Or if your mom called you up and said, hey, I'm going to come visit you. I heard that you got a new house and I'd like to come over and make that favorite recipe that you've always liked ever since you were a kid. And you got really excited that mom's coming to visit you, probably wouldn't say you were suffering. Or that person who you don't know comes and sits next to you on the bus, on public transportation, and your body's touching their body, you probably wouldn't say you were suffering in that situation. So it's best to not use that word, but instead to understand what the Buddha is explaining to you is how the mind gets shaken up. It's unsteady, it's uncalm. And that's where I use the word discontent, discontented, and discontentedness. And this will bring your mind to fully understand the full spectrum of emotions and feelings that the Buddha is describing that are in the unenlightened mind. Then there's something called the universal truth of non-self. I'll explain to you guys what this is, but let me first help you to understand the problem that this solves, because this is actually a solution to one of the problems that the Buddha discovered in the mind. So let me explain that to you first. There's these 10 individual pollutions that the Buddha discovered in the mind. He refers to them as the 10 fetters. The reason why is because during his lifetime, if you were someone that they were trying to keep confined to a certain area, like a prisoner, they would put a shackle and a chain and a ball around your ankle. This is a fetter. And then they would keep you in a certain field, and this is how they kept you confined to a certain area. Where today we put prisoners in jail cells or prison cells, where during the lifetime of the Buddha, they would attach a fetter to your ankle. So when he discovers these 10 pollutions that are in the mind, he refers to them as a fetter because it's keeping the mind trapped in this unenlightened state, continuing to experience anger and frustration and all these other feelings over and over and over again. But just like a prisoner, if you release the shackle off of their ankle, they're now free. They're liberated. The same thing is true about your mind. When you get these 10 fetters out of your mind will be free. Your mind's liberated. Because when you're angry and you're feeling stress and all these other feelings, you're not free. Your mind's bound up. So out of these 10 fetters, the very first one is called personal existence view. And this universal truth of non-self is the solution for this. What personal existence view is where the mind has the false belief, it has a lack of wisdom, it has confusion or misunderstanding. It thinks that this body is you, or this mind is you. It clings to this self-image or this self-identity, wanting to be perceived by others in a certain way. And you can only feel comfortable if you're being perceived the way you want to be perceived. So, for example, if you've ever spilt some food on your clothing in a social situation and you were embarrassed by that, that is your personal existence view. That's what caused that embarrassment, because you're clinging to this self-image, wanting others to perceive you a certain way, and you can only feel comfortable when people are perceiving you a certain way. If you've ever been in front of a mirror and you saw a pimple or a wrinkle or a mole, or you saw that you were having gray hair or you started losing your hair and you were shaken up by that, that's your personal existence view, clinging to this body, wanting to be perceived by others in a certain way. Or maybe you stood in front of your closet and you were thinking, who am I going to see today? And how do I want to look? And you put on a certain set of clothing and you looked in the mirror and you're like, no, that's not it. And you put on another set. No, that's not it. And you put on a third set. You're like, all right, now I feel comfortable to go outside. This is the mind clinging to this body, wanting to be perceived by others in a certain way. And you can only feel comfortable if you're being perceived the way you want to be perceived. I had this so much when I was a little kid. I used to get out gel and mousse and I would run it through my hair and try to get every little hair in exactly the right spot before I would go to school. And sometimes I did this for so long I would miss the school bus, right? So maybe you had some of these types of experiences. So this is clinging to the body where the mind's confused, thinking this is who you are as a person. But then the mind can also cling to your self-identity, where you might have a certain culture, an ethnicity, a sexual orientation, nationality, or some job or occupation, and you might cling to that as who you think you are as a person. So, for example, someone might think, I am American, or I am German, or I am Chinese. any of this I am around your culture, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, your nationality, your job or occupation, any number of things like this. And the problem with clinging to this identity of who you think you are is your mind wants to be perceived by others a certain way, and you can only be happy if you're being perceived that way. So for example, if you're at a restaurant and 2 tables over, somebody is speaking very fondly about your nationality. They might say, all Americans are lovely and kind and warm and gentle. I've never heard people say this before, but maybe they might say something like this, right? And now you feel so happy. You're like, oh, they're talking about me because I am American, right? But then it's only a matter of time because of impermanence that 2 tables over, someone's going to say something degrading and disparaging about your nationality or any other identity that you're holding on to. And now you feel angry or frustrated or agitated. Or let's just say you were in a relationship with a boyfriend or girlfriend. And during this relationship, you kept this identity in your mind of, I am a boyfriend, I am a girlfriend, I am a husband, I am a wife. And now you're clinging to that identity of who you think you are. But now when you guys break up and you're single, your mind doesn't identify that way. And now you're struggling during that period of time. The mind is uncomfortable. And it feels like the way to solve this is to hurry up and get right back into another relationship. And that's what the mind thinks is going to actually solve it. But that doesn't actually solve it, because it's this personal existence view, this pollution of mind, this fetter that the mind is clinging to any number of things of who you think you are as a person. Maybe you have a certain job, like say there's someone who's a police officer and someone thinks, I am a police officer. And now as long as you're doing that job, you feel great. But then when you get laid off, when you get fired, when you get injured and you can't do the job anymore, or you retire, you might be driving a taxi. And now you're disgruntled and agitated and frustrated because the mind's identifying with, I am a police officer. But yet here you are driving a taxi. So your mind can cling to any number of things of who you think you are as a person. And what the Buddha is teaching you is none of this is actually true. This is essentially an illusion. This is a misunderstanding. This is confusion that the mind has. But as long as you cling to any of these things and hold on to it and think that this is who you are, now your mind will struggle in certain situations. So the mind can overcome this by realizing non-self. That you get to the point where you realize that this body is not you and this mind is not you. There's certain training that you need to employ in order to be able to accomplish this. So this is the universal truth of non-self, where the Buddha is teaching you there is no self. There is a body, there is a mind, and it's come together for this existence, and we call that a person. But that's not who you are as a person. Sometimes people get this so strong where they might go to their family in their home country and they say, Mom, Dad, I don't even know who I am anymore. I need to go find myself. I need to go find my true self. I'm going to go to Thailand and I'm going to find myself, right? And now someone might come to a place like Thailand and they're looking around to try to find themselves. Well, they're not going to find themselves here because it doesn't exist. That's what the Buddha is teaching you. But the mind's constantly looking, right? And then maybe after 6 months or a year, they go home and they're like, Mom and Dad, I found myself. I know who I am again. Well, they haven't actually found themselves. What they found is maybe a new job, new friends, new hobbies, new activities, and now they're clinging to that as who they think they are as a person. But then when all that stuff changes, they don't know who they are anymore, right? They've lost themselves, right? So as long as you try to cling to something and you think that this is you, when all that starts changing, your mind will be lost and confused. You'll feel unwhole as a person. So the Buddha teaches you that there is no self. And sometimes when I describe this, people understand it right away, right up front, but other times it takes more time. I've seen some people take upwards of a year to be able to understand this particular teaching. But you can independently verify it because we've spent so much time accumulating this idea of a self. Ever since we were born, every single one of us were given a label. I don't know all of your labels, but my label is David, right? And now once you get that label, you start having a personality, a certain character. You start identifying with that as who you are as a person. In fact, the countries that we come from, they're heavily invested in us adopting personal existence view. That's why we have flags, we have national anthems, we have sports teams. And now if you're from a certain country, you feel like you should cheer for that team because I am Chinese or I am Lithuanian or I am Mexican. And now I should cheer for that particular team because that's who I am. And I should now cheer for that. So it's so ingrained in our mind, it's sometimes very challenging for people to understand this universal truth of non-self. But let me show you how to independently verify it, even if you don't understand it at this point in time. So this body nor this mind is you. It's not who you are. But the mind's going to think that this is who you are. And it's going to think that there's a permanent self here, when in reality, there's not. So think about yourself when you were a child, in your teenage years, your early adulthood, and now. Think about your personality, your character, and how you viewed yourself. Has it been exactly the same through all those 4 phases of your life, or has it been changing? What would you say? It's been changing, right? Here's another way. Say your arm is amputated and you only have one hand and one arm. Are you less of a person? You only have one hand and one arm. Are you less of a person? I heard no over here. What about you guys? No? Okay. So here you can see intellectually, you understand that this body is not you, right? Because if I asked you that question and this body is you, then you would say, yes, I'm less of a person because there's less body and this body is me. So if there's less body, there's less me. So therefore I'm less of a person. But you didn't answer it that way. You said, no, I'm not less of a person. So you can see intellectually, you understand that this body is not you. But in the heat of the moment, the mind is confused because of that lack of wisdom and that personal existence view. If someone says to you, wow, you're so beautiful, you're so handsome, that shirt really brings out the colors of your eyes. You're like, wow, they're talking about me. I'm so happy, wow. But it's only a matter of time before someone says, where did you get that haircut? Are you really going to go outside like that? And now you're frustrated or angry, right? So this body is not you, but the mind is confused in the heat of the moment. And you can intellectually understand this body is not you. Otherwise, you would have answered that question differently. But then in the heat of the moment, that confusion kicks in. Here's a third way. You can independently verify this. And then I'll open up to questions and see what questions you guys have. Point to yourself. Where are you? Can you point to yourself? Maybe everybody's realized non-self. Okay, this young lady's pointing here. Anybody else? Where are you? Yeah, some people point here, right? Well, if you're pointing at something, look at what you're pointing to. And you're saying, this is me, right? What you're literally pointing to is a shirt. Okay, so if you took off your shirt and you held it up and pointed to it, is that you? Is that who you are, that shirt that you're wearing? That's not you, right? Okay, so let's throw that away. Where are you? And someone might point again. And then what you're pointing to now is skin, right? So is that who you are, that skin that you've got? If we took off your skin and we held it up and pointed to it, is that you? That's not you, right? So we throw that away. Where are you? And someone might point again. And we've got ribs, we've got muscle tissue, we've got organs and fluid. None of that bits and pieces and parts are you. But the mind's going to cling to this, thinking that this is who you are. So there is a body, there is a mind, and it's come together for this existence, and we call this a person. But this isn't you, it's not who you are, and the mind will constantly cling to it and try to grab onto it and think that this is who you are. But the Buddha is teaching you that there is no self. That way you can become liberated and free from those strong feelings that the mind experiences as a result of either hearing something that is agreeable to you or something that is disagreeable related to this body or this self-identity. So let me know what questions you guys have. Remember, here at the temple, if you guys could use the microphones, and then online you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. Or in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand, unmute your microphone, and ask any questions that you like. So you got a question, Marcel? This is Marcel. He's not fat, right?
Hello. Yeah. Hello, David. Just a question. When I think about non-self and where I am, that is like I feel a kind of feeling in the body. I cannot show you where it is exactly, but it is a kind of feeling. It is permanently there. So is it the illusion, or how can I get rid of it?
Yeah, it's a delusion that the mind has. It's confusion that it thinks that this is you. This is who you are. So, like, for example, when people get tattoos, right? Not that there's anything wrong with tattoos. That's your choice. Everybody has their own personal choice, right? But that's the mind thinking this body is me and I want to look a certain way. And now I'll put tattoos or I'll do my hair a certain way. So it's a matter of being in the middle where you're not craving and clinging and holding on to this body thinking that this is who you are. But you're also not all the way on the other side where you could care less about this body too and you don't take care of it. You need to be able to come to the middle where you take care of it. So the mind will firmly believe that this body is you, and that's why it'll cling to it and it'll have certain feelings and emotions. If someone says something positive or something says something negative about this body, you'll have certain feelings about that, and you can't get liberated to the point where you're completely peaceful and joyful as long as you're clinging to this body, wanting it to be permanent and wanting people to perceive you as being a certain way. So the Buddha is teaching you to let that go, where you no longer hold on to this body or this identity in the mind, thinking that this is who you are. And now you can be liberated and free from those strong feelings, because someone might say in my ability to hear, they might talk something about Americans in a very degrading or diminishing way. And my mind thinks they're not talking about me because I'm not American, right? This body was born on a land that people refer to as America, but the mind doesn't have to adopt the identity of I am American. Just like I can do this where I'm sharing the teachings of the Buddha, and I can understand that I'm fulfilling this role of sharing the teachings of the Buddha, but my mind doesn't have to adopt the identity of I am a Buddhist teacher. So that way, when someone says something agreeable or disagreeable, your mind can actually reside peaceful and joyful no matter what. Because there's some people who talk very fondly of Buddhist teachers, and there's some people who talk very negative about Buddhist teachers. That's impermanence. This path is not about going out into the world and changing other people and getting other people to talk to you in a certain way. It's about training your mind to get to the point that no matter what you hear, your mind is unaffected by that. And that's what the Buddha is helping you to be able to get to. But as long as you cling to this body, wanting to be perceived by others in a certain way, you can't get to that peace and joy.
It was more this identity, like I'm German or something. I think I am already let that a little bit go. It's just this body feeling. When I ask myself, where am I? Then it's a kind of sensation I feel like here. How can I get rid of that? It's kind of meditation, or how can I get...
So in chapter 16 in this book, and we're not there yet, we're only in chapter 4 in this program, that's where I give you all the solutions of how to strip away personal existence view. Today is just introducing students to it. And then when we get to chapter 16, I'm going to explain the detailed solutions of how to eliminate it. But you need the Eightfold Path underway first. If you don't have the Eightfold Path well underway, which is what I'm going to teach next week, then that things that you see in chapter 16 wouldn't be effective. That's why it's laid out in a way that allows you to first build up your understanding and practice of the Eightfold Path. Then when you practice the things in chapter 16, they'll be more effective for you. Yeah, you're welcome. Yes, sir. It just takes a second to kick in. They're Buddhist microphones. You got to be patient with them. Not yet. Do you see the lights come on when you press the gray button? There you go.
So this is a question in regards to the second point that was made, which is that how we should be unconditionally happy or
It'll just cut out every once in a while because the signal is impermanent, just like the Buddha taught, right? Or it could be that the batteries are actually dead, because that's impermanence too. Okay, there's some more. Yeah. That's the Buddha's teachings, impermanence, right? It's best if you use the mic so the people online can hear. We got quite a few people joining us online.
Okay. So this is in regards to the second point, which was about unconditional joy, and unconditional happiness. I wonder how that fits in to the world that we live in,
Mhm.
where we do certain things because we have incentives to do them. Like I'm trying to run a business, and I'm trying to run the business because I will make more money doing that.
Mhm.
And then when I make more money, I will eventually be happier, or I will be able to do certain things that might increase the quality of my life, and that will lead to happiness. Now if I end up getting on this path where I find unconditional love or unconditional joy and happiness, while I'm sitting in bed, or while I'm not working, or while I'm not, fitting into this role that society gives me or incentivizes me to do, wouldn't that end up meaning that I lose my ambition and I lose my drive, and I do not end up fulfilling what I know I'm capable of in this illusory world? But even then, we live in this, and it's hard to kind of like, I'm not sure if I am making my point clear, but
Yeah, I understand. This question has come up before. So what you're describing is what the unenlightened mind experiences, that the mind thinks that if I get this more money, I will be happy. And now you base your happiness on the money. And now you work really, 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 really hard to get to that money, and you're happy temporarily, but then you want more, right? And now you're not happy again. And now you're chasing more money and more money and more money. So it's a delusion. It's confusion that the mind has, that it thinks that something external is going to provide happiness. So it'll chase and chase and chase and chase. That money is not going to make you happy. You need a certain amount of money in order to be able to sustain your life, but you're never going to be happy through chasing after money, because you'll get your money and you'll be happy temporarily, but then you want more and more and more and more. So the thing that the unenlightened mind does is it bases its motivation to actually do something like start a business because, yes, it's chasing money. And that's what the unenlightened mind is used to. But there's this better way of life that the Buddha is teaching you. Because if you're chasing after money, that craving, that desire, that longing, yearning that you're chasing after the money with, it'll burn out eventually. And now you'll feel unmotivated, or you'll just chase and chase and chase and chase. And then when you get to it, you'll be happy temporarily, and then you'll actually want more. Or what the unenlightened mind will do, if it's not chasing like that, is it'll swing to the other side, which is also what you're describing, which is dullness, lethargic condition, laziness in the mind. These are the two extremes. Neither of those is what the Buddha is actually teaching. He's teaching you to come to the middle, where you can gradually pursue your goals, objectives, or interests through enthusiasm and ambition and motivation, but you do it through wise decisions rather than chasing. Because if you're chasing, it's not sustainable. That's why you'll feel exhausted at the end of your day. And you'll feel depleted at the end of your day because you're out there chasing and now you feel exhausted. And then your mind will swing all the way to the other side where you're dull, lethargic, and lazy. So you'd like to come to the middle where you can gradually pursue your goals, objectives, or interests through wise decision making. And now you can do that with enthusiasm and ambition, but without chasing. But you got to be careful, because this word goal that I'm using, if you accomplish a goal and you get really happy, and if you don't accomplish your goal and you're sad or frustrated, that's not actually a goal. That's what we call a craving, desire, attachment, which is what I'm going to be talking about here next. It's actually a craving, desire, attachment masquerading as a goal. A true goal is something that you can gradually work towards, and you don't form your feelings on whether or not you accomplish it or not. So if you're 80% of the way to your goal and you don't accomplish it, you would be able to maintain your happiness and maintain your joy. You can look at the goal and say, I'm 80% of the way there. I could either extend my timeline and give myself more time to be able to accomplish this, or I could add more resources to be able to help me to accomplish this. Or, you know what? I'm fine with the 80%. I don't need to go any further. 80% is just fine. So a true goal is something you can work towards, and that whether you achieve it or not, you can still maintain your joy and happiness. Because like the Buddha, I think he was the most ambitious, most enthusiastic, most motivated person that I've ever known about. Because 2,500 years ago, he had the goal that his teachings were going to reach the entire world. But here he was in a place in Northeast India where they were speaking a very limited language that only a limited number of people in the world actually understood, and travel was not very easy 2,500 years ago. But yet he had this goal that he knew he would never achieve during his life, that his teachings would reach the entire world. And here we are 2,500 years later, and that goal was actually coming to be. But he knew that he needed to work towards that goal through wise decision making. So from the age of 35 to 80, he was gradually making wise decisions to be able to move his teachings into the world. He wasn't chasing it, and he wasn't basing his feelings on it, but he also wasn't on the other side where he was dull and lethargic and lazy. So you can actually work towards a goal with enthusiasm and motivation, actually more so than you would through craving, desire, attachment. Because if you're chasing money, or you're chasing a bigger house or a bigger car, once you get that thing, you'll actually be bored with it. This is why, like an animal, it'll chase after a squirrel and it'll kill it, and then it actually won't even eat it because it's just kind of bored with it. It was more interested in the chase. So you would like to learn how to come to the middle and train your mind to gradually pursue your goals and objectives through wise decision making with enthusiasm and ambition. And that's what the mind doesn't know how to do, because it's either on one side or the other. And the mind needs to learn how to come to the middle. And that's what this training is helping you to be able to do. Any other questions here or online? See, I don't see any questions online. Okay, so let me now continue to help you guys understand, and then we're going to get to the Four Noble Truths. There's this word in a series of words that you need to understand in order to understand the Four Noble Truths. It's craving, desire, attachment, wants, expectation, grasping, clinging, and holding. What this is this is the mind longing, yearning, and chasing after the objects of its affection, thinking the next new shiny object is going to provide some lasting satisfaction. So it'll chase and chase and chase and chase. The mind firmly believes something external is going to provide lasting satisfaction, so it will chase after it, thinking the next new shiny object waiting around the corner is going to provide that lasting satisfaction. So the mind will chase and chase and chase and chase. The mind thinks, I don't feel good here. What's going to solve this? Oh, more money. That's what'll fix everything. Let me get some more money. And the mind will chase and chase and chase and chase and chase. Or you'll say, what do I need to feel better here? A new boyfriend, a new girlfriend. That'll fix everything. Let me get one of those. And now you'll chase after that. And maybe you'll get it and you'll feel happy for a period of time, but then you'll end up right back in the anger and sadness and frustration. And then the mind's like, what do I need to fix all of this? I know, I'll go to Thailand. That'll fix everything. Let me go to Thailand. And you get so excited to come to Thailand. But then when it's time to go home, you're feeling frustrated. I don't want to go home. Thailand has mango and sticky rice and massages and elephants. I don't want to go back home, right? So the mind gets really excited, but then it doesn't. It gets angry or frustrated. This is what craving, desire, attachment is doing to the mind. This is the longing, the yearning, the chasing after the objects of your affection. If you've ever been in the mall and you saw a brand new pair of shoes and you were like, oh, a brand new pair of shoes. Oh, I can't wait to get those on my feet. Oh, this is going to be great. When I go to work on Monday morning, everyone's going to see my new shoes. Oh, I'm going to look so good in front of everyone. This is the mind longing, yearning. It might have been a pair of shoes or a phone or a technology, some jewelry. It's not the object itself that is the craving, desire, attachment. It is the way that the mind's longing, yearning for it. Do you guys know what I'm talking about here? You guys familiar with this? Yeah? Okay, so it's the way the mind is chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing, thinking that something external is going to provide lasting satisfaction. So now we can explore the Four Noble Truths, and you can have a breakthrough here to being able to understand what's causing these feelings so that then you can actually fix it. So the first Noble Truth is explaining the problem in the mind. Then we're going to discuss the cause of the problem, the elimination of it, and the path forward of how to actually fix it. So the problem that everyone is experiencing in the unenlightened state is discontentedness. That's the problem. that your mind is happy and excited, but then it's sad and frustrated or angry. Then you're bored and lonely or feeling shy or embarrassed or some other feeling. The mind's going up and down and up and down and up and down. It's only a matter of time before your mind experiences that. Sure, there's periods of calm and peace in the middle here and there, but it's only a matter of time before your mind experiences some discontent feeling. This is the problem. And when the mind's shaken up like that, then you can't make wise decisions. And now as you make unwise decisions, you experience unwholesome results coming back to you. The cause of this problem is in the second noble truth. Discontentedness is caused by our own cravings, desires, attachments, because the mind wants everything to be permanent when everything in the world is impermanent. I'm going to say that a few times, and I'm going to give you some examples so you can understand it. So that discontentedness, the pleasant feelings, painful feelings, and neither painful nor pleasant, is caused by craving, desire, attachment, the mind's longing, the yearning, the chasing after the objects of its affection. It wants things to be permanent when in reality everything in the world around you is impermanent. So here's some examples. Think back to that boyfriend or girlfriend that you first got together with. You might have been so happy or excited when you first got together with this person, right? They might have been showing you affection. They might have been calling you and checking in on you, sending you text messages. They might have been inviting you to dinner or to the movies. You might have been going to the park, walking through the park, having great conversations. You might have even been having intimate contact where you're having sex, and you felt really excited and all these pleasant feelings from this. But then over time, the relationship deteriorated and you guys broke up. And now when you guys broke up, you might have been angry or frustrated or lonely or bored, or you might have been missing this person. This is the mind holding on and craving permanence. Oftentimes people think that it's love that's causing those sad feelings. It's actually not your love. It's the mind holding on and craving permanence, that as long as this person was in your life, there was a certain amount of comfort. But then when you guys broke up, the mind wasn't getting what it wanted. Because with craving, desire, attachment, you can only be happy when you get what you want. That's when the pleasant feelings come. When the painful feelings are coming, the mind's not getting what it wants. So when you're together as boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife, your mind's getting what it wants. And now you get those pleasant feelings. But when you guys break up and you experience this impermanence, the mind doesn't understand that. And it's holding on and craving permanence. So this relationship from the very beginning was always impermanent. But the mind doesn't understand that. The mind craves permanence. Even if you guys were together for the rest of your life, more likely than not, one of you will die first. And then you guys will be separated. This relationship is always impermanent. You can see this if you've had someone close to you that has died, like grandma or grandpa, mom or dad, brothers or sisters. If you were grieving or sorrowful at the time of their death, you're not a bad person. You haven't done anything wrong, but it's not your love that's causing that grief and sorrow and sadness. What it is the mind's craving permanence. As long as grandma and grandpa are alive, the mind's getting what it wants. But when your relative dies and passes away, the mind doesn't get what it wants. It's holding on and it's craving permanence. And now the mind doesn't understand impermanence, that things are constantly changing. If you've ever been to a wedding and you see people that are crying at a wedding, this is the same thing. The mind is holding on and craving permanence. And now when brother or sister or your child is going off into the world with someone else, the mind is grieving and sorrowful and sad because you're confronted with this impermanence, realizing that this person is not permanent in your life. So one of the ways to say this is that the mind craves permanence. But another way to say it is that the mind does not like impermanence. It doesn't like change. Whenever things are changing in your life, that's a time when you're struggling the most. If you look at your life, whenever you were changing living locations, when you were changing jobs or occupations, or your relationships were changing, that's when you were having the biggest challenges and the biggest struggles in your day-to-day life. You can see that in your own life, that when things change, your mind doesn't like it because it craves permanence. Here's some other examples for you that aren't relationship based, and you might be able to see this a little bit more clear. And then I'm going to open up to questions and see what questions you have. Let's just say you bought a brand new car. You've been saving up for this car for 5 or 10 years. You've been putting your money under your mattress and you're saving all this money. And now you got enough money and you go get your dream car. And you walk into the dealership and you purchase this car and you drive off the parking lot with this brand new car. Everybody's waving at you. Wow, look at her. She's so successful. Wow, look at him. He looks so handsome driving that car. And you feel so great driving that car. And now you park it at a store and you go inside and you come out and there's a scratch on your car. Oh my gosh, you might be crushed. You might be so frustrated or angry. It's not the scratch that's causing it. And it's not the person who scratched your car. What's causing this is that the mind is craving permanence. The mind wants this car to look permanently beautiful, when in reality, it's not possible for this car to be permanently beautiful because the paint's going to fade, the tires are going to need to be changed, the upholstery is going to get ripped and torn. The mind does not like change. It doesn't like this impermanence. Now, we're not talking about what's wise or unwise, because obviously when we walk through a parking lot, we aspire not to scratch anybody's car. But the fact is that this car is going to deteriorate because it is impermanent. But the mind craves permanence. So the mind will firmly believe that it's something external that's causing these feelings. This is why when you experience the anger and frustration and you don't understand the second noble truth, you will tend to become unskillful. You will tend to push people away. This is called aversion, where you might have pushed away friends or family members out of your life, thinking that that was going to solve the problem. Or you might have done where you were bitter and harsh and hostile towards people through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. It's almost like an animal growling and roaring at another animal, trying to fear it into doing things your way. Or the third thing you'll do when you don't understand the second noble truth and you haven't independently verified it is that you'll start putting your expectations on people and trying to control them and pressure them to do things your way. This is what the unenlightened mind does because it's trying to get its cravings fulfilled. This person who's in your life doing things in a way that you don't want them to do it because you're craving this permanence for everybody to do things a certain way, you will tend to push that person out of your life thinking that that's going to solve your problem because now you get what you want. Or you be bitter and harsh and hostile to people, and this is going to fear them into doing things your way. Or you might put your expectations on people and try to pressure them. And in fact, people might actually be doing this to you too, or they're pushing you away. They're being bitter, harsh, and hostile to you, or they're putting expectations on you. And as long as you're doing this, you can't live harmoniously with all beings because it's only a matter of time before you encounter someone who does things differently than you because of impermanence. Not everybody does things exactly the same way. But when people do things your way, you'll like them. But when they don't do things your way, you will dislike them. And the mind thinks that that dislike is coming from the other person, when in reality it's coming from your own mind. It's just craving permanence. Because there's only one person in the world that actually does things your way all the time. Do you know who this person is? Yourself, right? So if you can only love people and you can only like people who do things your way, there's only one person in the world that you can love. And you might even have trouble loving that person from time to time, right? So you need to get to the point where you understand impermanence, that things are different and people are going to do things differently. And you might disagree with the choices and decisions that they make, but you can still love the person. This is something that your mind can be trained to do. But you need to independently verify this second noble truth. So I'll invite you right now to take a moment and look at your life. Look at a recent situation where you've been angry or sad or frustrated or some other discontent feeling. It could have been this morning or yesterday or maybe last week where you were angry and frustrated. Now, at that time, you might have been trying to blame somebody else because that's what the mind usually does. It tries to blame someone else for the feelings that you're having. But look at this problem. Look at this situation with these fresh eyes. What was it that your mind was longing, yearning for? What was it that you were expecting and wanting? And if you would have got it, you would have been happy and excited. But because you didn't get what you wanted, the mind got angry or sad or frustrated. And if you can see this, you can have a breakthrough to be able to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. And if you're having difficulties with that, let me know and I will help you. Because there's been plenty of people over the years that have needed help with this. I had a student call me one time and they said, David, I need your help. I said, okay, sure. What's going on? They said, David, you teach that it's my own mind that's causing these feelings, but I'm sure it's my wife that causes these feelings. And I was like, okay, well, what's going on? What's happening? And they said, well, I went to work the other day and my house looked beautiful. And when I came home, she had this craft project all over the house. And when I walked in, I got frustrated. I wasn't even there. She's the one who messed up the house. Didn't she cause me to be frustrated? And I said, no, it was your own mind. Because you went to work craving permanence, expecting your house to look exactly the same when you came home as when you went to work. And the fact is that your house can't look exactly the same. This craft project that your wife has in the house, that's not permanent either. She's eventually going to put it away. So you need to be able to see this through your own examples in your own life. I could give you example after example. Think about when we were a child. When I went to our parents and said, Mommy and Daddy, can I have chocolate and ice cream? And they said, sure, little David, here's your chocolate and ice cream. You can have chocolate and ice cream. Ah, thank you, Mommy and Daddy. You're the best Mommy and Daddy ever. Right? And then the second day came and I said, Mommy and Daddy, can I have chocolate and ice cream? And your parents might have said, here you go. Here's your chocolate and ice cream. Ah, thank you so much. You're so great, Mommy and Daddy. You're so wonderful. Right? But then the third day came around and we said, Mommy and Daddy, can I have chocolate and ice cream? No, you can't have chocolate and ice cream. You're the worst Mommy and Daddy ever. This is the mind just didn't get what it wanted. It wanted that chocolate and ice cream. It was longing, yearning for it. And it wanted it to be permanent. When we were children, if we had chocolate and ice cream every single day, oh my gosh, that would have been a wonderful life, right? So we were longing, yearning for that chocolate and ice cream, and we could only be happy when we got it. And then when we didn't get it, we thought it was mom and dad that were causing us to be angry and frustrated, where in reality, it was your own mind. So I'm sure you've been in knockdown, drag-out arguments where you've been trying to convince people that they have to stop doing what they're doing, or else you're going to continue to get angry and frustrated. I'm sure that's what you've experienced. Every single time that you've been angry your entire life, it's always been your own mind all along, but your mind thinks, because of its lack of wisdom, that it's somebody else that's causing these feelings. And if you can peer into this and you can see the truth for yourself, you can have a real breakthrough. Because it's not other people that are causing these feelings. This is why you haven't been able to solve it all these years, because the mind lacks wisdom of the second noble truth. But if you can independently verify it and you can see it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, this is very empowering. Because now, if it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, you can actually eliminate them. That's what the third noble truth is explaining to you. That the elimination of discontentedness is possible by eliminating craving, desire, attachment. If you eliminate this longing, yearning, this chasing after the objects of your affection, forming your feelings on whether you get this thing or not, you can actually eliminate your discontentedness. Essentially, you need to train your mind to let go. That the mind is holding on, it's craving permanence. You can independently verify this too. Because think back to that boyfriend or girlfriend that you were with. When you guys were first together, again, you got happy and excited. And then when you broke up, you were angry and frustrated. And you were maybe angry and lonely and bored and missing this person for a period of time. But after a while, whether it was a few weeks or a few months or a few years, your mind ultimately let go. And your mind, when you let go, that's when your peace and joy came back. You were like, you know what? If he wants to be with someone else, so be it. And you let go. Or you were like, you know what? If she wants to live in another part of the world, so be it. And you let go. And when you let go, that's when your peace and joy came back into your mind. Right? So your mind needs to learn how to let go. Because if you can understand that the cause of discontentedness is craving, desire, attachment, then you can understand if you eliminate the cause, you will eliminate the effect. That you don't need to experience anger and sadness and frustration the rest of your life. Just like you can unsubscribe from an email list, you can unsubscribe from anger and sadness and frustration. Unfortunately, it's not just a button to press. There's training that you need to employ, but that's essentially what you're doing. You're like, you know what? I'm done with the heartache and the misery. I'm done with the anger and frustration. I'm done with the guilt and the shame and the fear, and I'm interested in this better way of life. And that's what the Buddha teaches you. So if you can understand that the cause of your feelings are coming from your own mind, and that's what's hurting you, you can heal from that by eliminating your craving, desire, attachment, where you're no longer chasing. But you're also not on the other side where you're dull and lethargic. You come to the middle where you gradually pursue your goals, objectives, or interest. And the way that you can do that is in the fourth noble truth. The fourth noble truth is explaining to you that the solution to this is the Eightfold Path. That's the complete, perfect plan that is going to guide you in how to completely transform your mind and train your mind to get to the point where it's completely peaceful and joyful and experiencing those enlightened qualities that I talked about at the beginning of class. The Eightfold Path is 8 individual factors that you're learning each one of these. And as you're learning each one of them, you implement them into your life, and now you gradually develop your mind to get to this enlightened mental state. And I share this using the original words of the Buddha. I'm going to be sharing this as part of a course that's going to start tomorrow. There's a course called Foundation in the Path to Enlightenment. It's 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if you guys would like to come, you're more than welcome to come. There's no cost for anything that we do here. You're welcome to come here tomorrow. And as part of the course on Tuesday morning, I'm going to be teaching this. And if you come for the entire course, you'd like to just come for bits and pieces of it, that's up to you. But on Tuesday morning, I'm going to be sharing this entire teaching using the original words of the Buddha. And I'm also going to share it next week on Sunday as part of the group learning program as well. This Eightfold Path, it starts with right view. What right view is the Four Noble Truths. The right view is to understand that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. It's craving, desire, attachment. It's longing, yearning. It's not the outside world. That's why the Buddha starts with helping you to understand that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, because as long as you believe that it's somebody else, you'll just keep pushing them away, being bitter, harsh, and hostile, or putting your expectations on people. And you'll never actually solve this. You'll just continue to be angry and frustrated the rest of your life. But if you can establish right view, which is the title of this chapter, establishing right view, that you can deeply see through your own experience that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, now you can actually fix it. So that's why the Buddha starts off his teachings. All his brand new students would learn right view first, the Four Noble Truths. And that's why it's at the bottom here, because that's the foundation. And then you build on top of that all the other teachings of the Buddha. But if you didn't understand that it was your own mind that was causing these feelings, you would never be able to fix it. Right? So that's why the Buddha helps you to start with that, because you need to do this inner work, this inner growth, this inner development. Sometimes people think the way to solve their problems is to change other people. You might be trying to change mom and dad. You might be trying to change your brothers and sisters, your life partner, and other people like this. But you'll never get to peace and joy by trying to change other people, because there's 8 billion people in the world, and you can't train 8 billion people to do things your way. But you can train one mind. There's one mind that you have the ability to train. Do you know whose mind that is? Whose mind can you train? Your own. That's going to be challenging, right? Just training your own mind, let alone trying to change everybody else. So I just actually removed a burden from you. You don't have to train 8 billion people, right? There's only one person in the world that you need to train, right? So it starts with this Eightfold Path. And it starts with right view. So this is everything I have to share with you guys. Let me know what questions you guys have. If you'd like to explore this second noble truth, if you think that it's other people that are causing your discontent feelings, let me know. Tell me about the situation, and then I will help you. Okay? Ma'am, you have a question in the back? I saw you come get a microphone.
Oh, hello. Yeah.
Sounds like the mic went out. That might be the one with low batteries.
Hello. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree that things are impermanent. Actually, I haven't get married yet because I'm so convinced that love and relationships are impermanent. So I don't know the meaning of getting married because the love may disappear in one day. So every time I think of that, I'm very upset.
Okay. So right now, if you're thinking about love, like people fall in love and people fall out of love, and if you're thinking of love as hurting and it's painful, this isn't actually love. That's craving, desire, attachment. This is one of the problems in the unenlightened mind, is it lacks wisdom of what is true love. And therefore, because it's not practicing true love, it doesn't experience true love. So right now, if you're falling in love and out of love, or other people are doing that around you, or you think love hurts, this isn't true love. But in this book, in chapter 15, I share with you what is true love, because true love is unconditional love. There's nothing that will cause you to love this person, so therefore you can't actually fall out of love with this person. So that's why I come here to share these teachings with you, because I love you. I loved you before I ever met you, because what love is a genuine interest in seeing you be well. And it's unconditional. You didn't earn my love, so therefore there's nothing you could do for me to stop loving you. If you killed somebody that was close to me, I wouldn't stop loving you. I would disagree with your choices and decisions that you made, but I could still love you as a person, meaning I have a genuine interest in seeing you be well. So in the unenlightened state, we think that this falling in love and out of love, we think that that's love. Because one of the problems that we have is we have all these love songs that people call love songs. They're actually not love songs. They're actually talking about craving, desire, attachment. When they're like, I'm down on my knees and I can't live without you. Please don't leave me. I'm going to be so sorrowful if you leave me. Oh, I can't live without you. This is craving, desire, attachment. That I can only have fun. I can only enjoy my life if you are with me. And now the mind is attached. So what the unenlightened mind does, because of craving, desire, attachment, is it's like, if my mom and dad does this, if my brothers and sisters do this, if my boss does this, if the weather is this, if I have this much money in my bank account, if I have this kind of house and this kind of car, then I will be happy. Right? So your happiness is actually shrinking. So if you're in relationships where people are falling in and out of love with you, they might actually have love in their mind for you, but what you guys are talking about is actually craving, desire, attachment, which is polluting this love. And when you get that craving, desire, attachment out of the way, the true love can actually shine through more and more. But I would encourage you to read chapter 15. These books are actually available at no cost. You can download them from our website. You can take it and go print it yourself. You can get printed versions here by reimbursing us for the printing cost, or you can order it on Amazon. That's the best place to start, is with the first book. So whether you choose to get married or not, it's a choice for you to make. Not everybody chooses to get married. You can be single and live a wonderful life, or you can choose to have a partner and have a wonderful life. But if you don't understand the wisdom of how to train your mind, then it'll be very difficult for you. There's 3 things you need in a life partnership in order for it to be successful. Is you and your partner needs to understand that you are not perfect, that you guys are a work in progress. And the second thing is you need to make sure that you're not blaming each other for the feelings that you're experiencing. Usually in a relationship, people will blame each other for the feelings because they don't understand the Four Noble Truths. And the third thing you need is you need to be willing, and your partner needs to be willing to get the help that you need to evolve and become a better and better person. If you have the opposite of these 3 things, it's going to be a very difficult life for you. If you have a partner who thinks they're perfect, if you have a partner who's blaming you for the feelings that they're experiencing, and they're unwilling to get the help to improve, to become a better person, they're stagnated. And now, because of that, you guys aren't going to grow as individuals, and you're not going to grow as a couple either. So you need these 3 things to kind of be established up front of part of your relationship to be successful. And now you guys can grow and develop as individuals, and then your relationship will continue to be enhanced from that point forward. But if you or your partner think you're perfect, you're blaming each other for your feelings, and you're unwilling to get help, you'll never actually progress from there. So you can live a wonderful life as a single person if that's what you would like to do. But if you would like to have a partner, or even if you'd like to be single, it would be wise for you to train your mind so you can get to peace and joy. Because just as we grew up and we learned how to clean our body, and that was important for us, and our parents taught us that, we need to learn how to clean the mind as well. And you might not have learned that growing up as a child. And if you went around for multiple weeks or months or years without cleaning your body, you would feel very uncomfortable. The same thing is true if you don't clean your mind. You're going to feel very uncomfortable. That's the stress and anxiety and all those other feelings. So that's what the Buddha is teaching you how to do. And whether someone chooses to do that is a choice for them to make. And then you can gradually, slowly see that his teachings actually work as you implement them into your life. So yes, relationships are impermanent, but that doesn't mean that we can't have relationships and we can't enjoy them, because we surely can, but we just need to understand that they're impermanent and we don't form our feelings on them, that we can actually enjoy this situation in a relationship, but we're not holding on to it, expecting it to be permanent, because at some point it's going to be over, and that's where your painful feelings are going to come in. So on this path, you can learn how to have wonderful, harmonious relationships, and you're not experiencing the anger and frustration and the heartache and the misery as part of that. You can just enjoy the relationship. Okay, I don't see any other questions anywhere. So oh, you have a question, ma'am? Yeah, sure.
Hello. Okay, I have like two questions. So the first one is like social anxiety. A part of the one of the reasons of the social anxiety is that you're clinging on to like social expectations. And my second question is that like not being able to cling on to, for example, seeking happiness and satisfaction in life. But like some people would say that I'm not sure if I'm part of like one of those people. There are ups and downs, there are highs and lows in life, but like not being able to fully experiencing them, will you be like less happy and satisfied? Thank you.
Okay, sure. So social anxiety is caused by craving, desire, attachment. There's some craving that's in the mind, and there can be multiple cravings. You can't just pin it to just one craving. It can be any number of cravings, but it's coming from your personal existence view, where the mind wants to be perceived by others in a certain way, and now it can only feel happy if it's being perceived that way. So that's where the fear and the anxiety is coming in, that it wants to be perceived a certain way, and it's fearful that it's not going to be perceived that way. So it could be any number of cravings, but it all comes back to personal existence view. By eliminating the cravings, desires, attachments, you're not going to experience that conditional happiness where your mind's way up here. You're not going to experience the conditional sadness when your mind's way down here. And usually when I explain that, people think, oh, you must just be numb and you must be mundane. This isn't actually true. This is the problem for people in the unenlightened state, is they don't understand what enlightenment is. And when someone's describing it, they don't always understand it. So you will actually experience more happiness as an enlightened being than you ever did as an unenlightened being. Because as an unenlightened being, you can only be happy when you're getting what you want, right? So that means your happiness is shrinking, right? Because this is why people are old and grumpy. You don't need to be old and grumpy. Not everybody is old and grumpy, right? But if you have a bunch of expectations and things that you want, that means you can only be happy when these things are true. The longer your list is, the less happy you are, because all these things have to be true before you can be happy. But when you get rid of all of that, you can be happy no matter what. If it's raining, you're happy. If it's sunny, you're happy. You're not happy because it's sunny. You're not happy because it's raining. You're just inwardly happy because you understand this is impermanence. It's kind of like if you're walking down the street and the wind is blowing, you're not sad or frustrated. And if the wind isn't blowing, you're not sad or frustrated or happy or excited, right? It's just the wind's blowing or the wind isn't blowing. It's the same thing. It's like when it's sunny, it's sunny. When it's raining, it's raining. This is all impermanent. It's constant change. And the mind can just understand that this is normal. This is the way that the world works. But in the unenlightened state, you can only be happy when you get what you want. And that means your happiness is very minimal. It's shrinking. You're sabotaging your ability to be happy. But by the time you get to enlightenment, you're experiencing unconditioned happiness where you can be happy no matter what. If your mom comes and visits you or she doesn't come, that's okay. You just understand this is impermanence. Sometimes mom's going to come, sometimes she's not. Or sometimes it's going to rain, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's going to be sunny, sometimes it's not. But if you can only be happy when you're getting what you want, then you're not going to be able to be happy like an enlightened being can be happy no matter what's happening.
So is it like lowering your expectations or like eliminating your expectations in life?
It's eliminating your expectations. As long as you have expectations, those expectations can't be fulfilled permanently because of the universal truth of impermanence. So for example, like my son, he goes to school, he's 13 years old. I would like him to get grades that are A's. I would like him to get all A's, right? I think that would be really helpful for him, for his life, for his career, for his development, for his mind, but I don't expect it from him. Because if I expect it, that means I'm longing, yearning for it. And if he comes home with a grade less than A, then I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be angry. Not at this point in my life, but if somebody had an expectation, then they would be angry or frustrated. And so my son has come home with grades like F's before, right? And I wasn't angry or frustrated. Instead, I just realized, this is unfortunate. He's made some unwise decisions here and he's getting some F's. Let me sit down and talk to him and find out what decisions that he's making that's leading to these F's. And let's figure out how to guide him to understand how to make better decisions so that now he can get to a higher grade, right? But if I had an expectation that he would have high grades, when he comes home with a low grade, I'd be angry and frustrated, and I'd be yelling and hollering and screaming at him and putting my expectations on him and trying to control him to do things my way. So by getting rid of your expectations, it doesn't mean that you're not motivated to help your child, for example. Instead, you do it from the middle way. Whereas if you're expecting good grades, you'll pressure and try to force them and control them and yell at them to get certain grades. But if you're all the way on the other side where you could care less about what grades your child gets, then you're not going to be able to help your child in that situation. You're not going to be fulfilling your role as a parent. So you'd like to come to the middle where you're gradually guiding and helping your child and doing that without expectations. And now your mind can be content and peaceful, because that first F that he ever got, and he came home and I went in and I talked with his teachers and he came with me and we had a big conversation and he fully understood exactly what he needed to do to improve. The very next quarter, he still got an F, right? So they're not necessarily going to just instantly do what it is you would like them to do. But if you have an expectation, you'll get angry or frustrated when they're not doing that. And then you're not going to be able to be helpful and you're not going to have a harmonious relationship. So you can come to the middle where you get rid of your expectations, but you still make wise decisions to pursue goals and objectives. And in this example, it's helping my son to get better grades if he would like to do that. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. The microphone back there or up here, up to you. That one seems to be working well.
I understand the word is impermanent, but even I understand that, it still makes me feel sad when I consider about that. Like if you want to chase something, no matter it's money or relationship or something, you can, every time when you feel happy, when you feel satisfied, you will know that it will gone. Like, because you know it's not forever. It means like if I want to make myself feel peace, I shouldn't chase something. Like you just stay there, you let things come to you, like the river come to you and go. Is it better to make you feel peace?
Yeah, because if you can only be happy if you get what you want, then that means you can't be happy permanently. You can get to the point where you can always be happy, and your mind needs to be trained to understand impermanence. This is the interesting thing about enlightenment, is that your mind craves permanence. It really wants things to be permanent, but as long as it's craving permanence, it can't ever get permanent peace or permanent joy. So as long as you're craving things to be permanent and you're uncomfortable with impermanence, you'll continue to be discontent. But as soon as you train your mind to be comfortable with impermanence, you're actually going to get what your mind always wanted all along, which is permanent peace and permanent joy, where your mind's just always cheerful and bright and glad and uplifted. That's what the enlightened mental state is. But you can't ever get to that as long as you're craving for things to be permanent and you're forming your feelings on external things. Right? So I'm very interested in seeing these teachings reach the entire world, because I know as they do, more and more people are going to be able to experience this enlightened mental state. But I'm not craving it. I'm not longing, yearning for it. I'm not wanting it or desiring it. I just come in each day and gradually make wise decisions towards helping people to learn these teachings. And now if people come and they learn, great, wonderful, I'll share with them. But if I show up and there's nobody here at all, okay, that's fine too, right? And I can maintain my happiness, right? But if I'm only happy when students come, then my mind is not free because there's a condition there, right? So you like to get to the point where you can be happy no matter what, but your mind doesn't know how to do that. And that's where the Eightfold Path comes in. When you train your mind with this Eightfold Path, that's what's going to gradually help you get to the point where you've eliminated basing your feelings on external circumstances, and you can experience the peace and the joy and the harmonious relationships. And it just takes gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress to gradually work towards this.
Like if I don't chase anything and it just like it happen naturally, what, like, do I still meaningful to the world, or that the world still meaningful to me?
Yes. So when we talk about this, you're not chasing, right? And when people think that when you're not chasing, like what you were just saying, you say, I just let whatever happens, happens. That's not what the Buddhist teachings are. You're not just choosing to just let whatever happens, happen. Like I still make conscious decisions every single day to make wise decisions to move my goals and objectives forward, but I'm not forming my feelings on those things. So sometimes when people hear the idea of not chasing, they can't understand this middle way. They think that, oh, that just means I'm just don't care and I just sit around and do nothing. That's not true, but that's what the mind can see in the unenlightened state. Is it sees that it swings from side to side, where you're either chasing or you're over here where you could care less and you don't care and you're indifferent. But there's this middle way where you gradually pursue your goals, objectives, or interests each day. And you can learn how to do that without chasing it. But instead, you just make wise decisions towards a certain goal. This is what the mind needs to learn how to do. Okay, it takes time to learn how to do that. Okay, so I don't see any other questions. So what I'm going to do is just end class by thanking all of you guys for coming to learn and understand the teachings of the Buddha. As you would like to learn more, there's plenty of opportunities for you. This evening at 6:30, we have loving kindness meditation here, where I'm going to teach you a meditation that's going to help you eliminate your anger, your hatred, your ill will, and all the lesser versions like frustration, agitation, annoyance, and others. And then at 9 p.m. tonight, I'm going to be teaching the same topic at 9 p.m. here at the temple as well. And then tomorrow, I'm going to be starting a course Monday through Friday from 9 to 3, where I'm going to be helping students learn all the foundational teachings to be able to understand what it takes to really get on the path to enlightenment and start making real progress to go forward on the path. So you can attend any of these or any of our future events by coming here or through our live stream, because as you travel, you can actually log in through Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, and you can watch the live classes, or you can even watch the recording if you can't attend the live classes. So you'll find all these options available on our bulletin board over there or on our website, buddhadailywisdom.com. You can see our website and you'll see the events calendar from there. So whatever you choose to do today, have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Sawadee-khap. Sawadee-khap.
Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.